All right, everybody, how's it going? It is Saturday, December 3rd, 2022. And of course, this video might be a little bit kind of late as we're like a day away from the start of week 13. Well, at least like 13 games, then Monday Night Football, yada, yada, yada. But anyway, we do have some playoff clinching scenarios this week, believe it or not. Yep, already. Week 13, and we already have two teams that are able to potentially punch their ticket to the postseason. It's probably the two teams you would expect to see already at this juncture. They've been pretty good this year. The Eagles, who have just only lost one game, and the Vikings, who have been kind of rifling through their schedule, and they kind of have like a weaker division. So we have a couple things to go over. There's nobody in the AFC this week that can clinch anything. That might be coming next week. Week 14, week 15 is probably more common when we start to see more lengthy, more thought out playoff scenarios that can develop. But here we are in week 13 with a couple that actually happens. The Eagles have a chance. Of course, they have to win this week. They take on the Tennessee Titans, so that's going to be kind of a tough game for them. We'll see if they're able to do it. Titans kind of play really good teams, like really, really well. So, it's always a game with the Titans. But if they do happen to win, they need the following to happen. They need Washington to tie, San Francisco and Seattle to lose. That is a guaranteed thing. As long as both San Francisco and Seattle don't tie. Like, as long as San Francisco doesn't tie the Dolphins and Seattle doesn't tie the Rams, that is important for this. So Philadelphia needs to win, Washington needs to lose, San Francisco needs to lose or tie, and Seattle needs to lose or tie, as long as they both don't tie. So as long as one of those two teams lose and the other ties or loses, then everything's good. They can clinch as long as Washington loses to the Giants. So Philly has kind of a complicated situation. Basically, they need Washington, San Francisco, and Seattle to lose. Or they need to win, Washington to tie, and San Francisco and Seattle to lose. It's kind of, a little unlikely, but I mean, it's possible. Giants are playing, Washington is playing the Giants, San Francisco does play the Dolphins, and Seattle does play the Rams. These things aren't impossible. Of course, the most unlikely of this scenario would probably be the Seattle losing to the Rams. Doesn't seem possible. At least this year, anyway. All right, so that's pretty much how the Eagles can kind of clinch a playoff spot. Not their division quite yet, because the NFC East has been one of the better divisions in all of the NFL this year. So then we have to kind of glide down and look at what the Minnesota Vikings can do, who take on the New York Jets, who have been kind of this super defensive football team, very hard to play against, pretty well coached, great defense. Offense is super inconsistent, pretty bad overall. So either way, they're 7-4 and they're having a good season for what they're used to in Jets land anyway. But the Vikings can actually clinch the division title due to the fact that the NFC North has been kind of not that great. I think the Lions are in second place at 4-7. So it's like, oh, all right, yeah, it's pretty bad. But so basically, because the Lions have 7 losses and the Vikings can get to 10 wins, what essentially happens here is the Vikings are now in a place where nobody in the division can get to pass. So basically, the Lions get to 8 losses. No one in the division can really catch the Vikings because they would be at 10 wins, only able to get to 7 losses, whereas the Lions can only get to 9 wins if they won out if they lost. So that's just something to keep in mind and why they can already clinch the division, basically because the NFC North has played really badly this year. So the Vikings can clinch the NFC North basically with a win and a Detroit loss or tie. So if the Lions don't win, or if they tie, and Minnesota wins, Minnesota clinches their NFC North title. Or it can happen if they tie and Detroit loses. So basically, they need Detroit to lose or tie, and they need to win or tie. So all Minnesota has to do is not lose, and Detroit needs to not win. So and then the Vikings have themselves a division crown. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this week on the playoff clinching scenarios. I know there isn't much, but that's it. Probably next week we'll start to see a bunch more teams that can clinch like playoff spots, whether it be wild card or a later division title. If the Eagles don't clinch this week, or if Minnesota doesn't clinch this week, we'll start seeing them more and more often through these lists. They'll start repeating themselves over and over until they do clinch. If they are, maybe they lose out and they miss, but I doubt it. All right. that just about wraps it up. So thank you so much for listening to this week 13 playoff clinching scenarios. We'll try to get this video out on Thursday next week or something a little bit sooner, so that way there's some time to let it sit and marinate and people have time to like view it and, you know, see if they enjoy it and whatnot. So all right, thank you so much for listening. Have a good rest of your day, night, morning, mid-afternoon, mid-evening, that time between like 4 and 7 when it's like kind of like evening-ish, but it's, I don't really know what to call that. But either way, whenever you listen, have a good rest of that time and a good just have a good one, and I'll see you when I see you next. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. All those things help the video out and make it perform a little better, so make sure you do that. It's very helpful, very nice. So all right, have a good rest of your whatever, and I'll see you next time. Go Lions, go Tigers, and of course it's always go Patriots. What do you think will happen this week for the playoffs? Or is anybody in, or is this a nothing burger? We'll see.